Now, talk to us about raising children as a straight but supporter of gay marriages. What you'll encompass if, say, one of your daughters or your children happens to be gay and.
I always tell a joke. I don't know if this will be appropriate, but I'd say, I have no problem with either one of my daughters coming out. I mean, that's wonderful. Just don't tell me you're Republican. What's been really interesting is reading bedtime stories, fairy tales, to my daughter, which I'm also already nervous about as a feminist, but I do. She gravitates towards them, so I read them to her. She's 3, and we get to the end, and the princess always marries the prince, and so I'm very conscious of that. And I often say, well, sometimes the princess can marry the princess.
You don't do that, or you
I
do?
try to. Well, I think about after I read it to her. I think, should I? What kinds of stories am I reading to her? And I walked into their daycare the other day, and she was playing wedding, and she was the prince, and the other little girl was the princess. And I said, oh, that's wonderful. And she said, it's because Douglas left. He was the prince, so I had to be the prince. And it occurred to me, I didn't say anything to her, but it occurred to me how if you're a child and you're growing up and you are homosexual, how difficult that must be, that you have no role. There's no place for you. If you're a girl, princesses don't marry princesses. You have to automatically adopt the prince role.
My name is Amanda TV Dinner, and we're here tonight talking about marriage equality. I'm here with Joe Maleka and Christine Voigt. Hi. Thank you guys for being here.
Thank you for having us.
I want to start by you guys giving us a little background, sort of about how you met in your relationship.
Okay. Why don't you start and I'll jump in? Sure. We're both teachers, and we were teaching in classrooms that were next door to each other. And one day I just saw this beautiful blonde woman walk by me, and I knew there was something special about her. So I spent several months trying to, befriend her, and it worked very well. We became really good friends.
We were friends immediately.
We were immediate friends, and we knew there was something special, and we've been inseparable ever since. It was about 6 years ago, and my life has never been the same ever since.
In a good way, though.
Oh, yeah.
In a good way.
Yeah,
in a good way.
absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, so.
And then 2 years ago?
Two and a
2
half.
years ago in January, I felt like it was really important for us to create a more permanent and public statement about who we were and what our relationship meant to us. And so I asked her to marry me. And she was shocked, and she said yes. And then we spent the next year like any couple who's in love does, and we planned our wedding. Unfortunately, we were not allowed to marry legally in this country. So we worked through our network of friends and found a wonderful minister in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada, who was happy to add us to her list of the many, many same-sex couples that she's married. And we were married on August 13th of 2006.
Five.
2005.
2005. That's right.
And
on August 14th of 2005, we were married again. We came back here the next day and decided it would have been a good idea to, let's throw another party. And we had about a dozen of our closest relatives and friends with us in Canada, and then we had about 100 here in just more of a blessing of our union. And it's wonderful. It's a good feeling.
Yep.
Though it would be a lot better if it were recognized, obviously. But.
Can you talk a little bit more about how that would be different? How, if your marriage was recognized here in the United States, how your day-to-day life and how your relationship would be different?
Well, I don't know necessarily that our relationship would be different. I mean, we have a very solid, strong relationship. We're both successful professionals who know what we want in life. We know that we make each other better people. We have a very symbiotic relationship. I cook, she cleans, we do the dishes, we take care of the cats. I mean, that's our day-to-day life, and that stuff doesn't change. But what changes more is there's a couple big things that would change if we were able to legally marry in the United States. one being the security of knowing that we could take care of each other, knowing that if something were to happen to me medically, that the person who knows me best in this world would be able to get family leave if she needed, would be able to talk to the doctors and let the doctors know, because she knows my medical history better than anybody in the world knows. So if something were to happen, she knows what drug allergies I have. I mean, she would be there. Right. And not to mention the support of the person that I love being there with me. Right. Another thing is that there's just the societal acceptance is very different. I mean, as a teacher, very often when students see my ring, or when anybody sees my ring, they assume, you know, oh, you're married, what's your husband's name? Yeah. I mean, it's just it's an assumed thing in our society, and which is uncomfortable. And it's awkward. So in terms of day-to-day between the two of us, I don't think much would change at all, except for, of course, the security of knowing that, that if anything did happen to me, she could have my pension, which I pay into. If one of us were to lose our job, the other could provide the other with medical insurance without having to pay for it post-tax, which is currently what happens. There's 1,800 federal and state rights that we're denied simply by the fact that the state of New York will not give us a piece of paper saying that we're legally married.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You said it all. I don't need to say anything. That's exactly it. That's exactly it. It's just about being able to fundamentally take care of each other. I mean, we love each other. That's the reason why people get married. And part of loving someone is being willing to be responsible for them in every way, financially, emotionally. We've got the emotional piece taken care of. It's the legal piece that we desperately need, because it allows you to plan for your life without having to go through exorbitant lawyers' fees and the extra time that it takes to create documents that only begin to mimic what is granted to other couples instantly.
You know, the reality that we have known each other for over 6 years and cared for each other for that long, and we're legal strangers. A heterosexual couple could meet each other online today, say, hey, let's go downtown and file for a marriage license tomorrow, and have every legal right to do that. That's insulting, you know. It's also insulting the fact that, I mean, we're second-class citizens and we're treated that way. We're both very civically active. We do a lot for our community. We do a lot for, you know, I volunteer at Highland Hospital. I work for political candidates. We do a lot of things. We're
very active members of our church.
Yeah, we're very contributing members of society. We contribute to Social Security. We contribute to our pensions. We contribute to taxes, even more so than some people, because we can't file jointly. We can't. No, we don't have all those things. But in the eyes of our country, in the eyes of our state, we're second-class citizens, and we're not entrusted with being able to say who we want to marry and who we feel we need to spend the rest of our lives with.
With Sandra and Rosemary and their daughter Shauna. Thank you guys for being with us. Can you tell us a little bit about how you met, your background, and a little bit about your family?
Sure. We met 13 years ago, and we actually met at McDonald's. And Sandra was a little bit aggressive at pursuing a relationship with me, and it was a very sweet way of doing it. And I immediately felt a real deep connection with her. And then she introduced me to Shauna, who was 3 years old at the time, and I considered my black Shirley Temple. She was the sweetest, most adorable kid. As you can see, she's still beautiful. So since then, we have been together and have a great family and a great relationship.
So, can you tell us a little bit about how you think your relationship would change, or how the community would perceive you differently if you were given the chance to legally marry?
I don't know if things at home would change per se, but I think that the way that people perceive us would definitely change. it is really hard to tell someone that this is my wife, my significant other, and the person that is in my life.